the theme forest route is, look, I don't want to come across as bashing, right? I put that in the same category as the drag and drop builders that are available today, right? There's a time and a place for it. It's no budget, low budget, proof of concept, just trying to launch something and see how it goes. You're just a startup with no money, right? I get it, right? There's a reason to go and mess around in those things, and maybe they can't afford a designer with experience, et cetera.
Sure.
But if you're taking it seriously and if you want to do it right, I am fully of the opinion that it doesn't have to be Figma, right? Figma is an amazing tool. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
I am not familiar with it.
It was in the news recently. It was a failed acquisition from Adobe that didn't work out. A lot of media coverage around that. But essentially, it's a tool to fully design something in advance, right? So somebody comes to me today and says, hey, I have a website. I say, great. Where is it built in? WordPress. Great. That's the only platform I work in. We're not happy with the look and feel. Say, okay. My general process is to ask for design inspiration and say, show me examples of designs you absolutely love and wish your website looked like, right? Not to copy, right? I'm not asking to copy, but I need to understand, hey, Daryl, what is beautiful to you, right? Because what's beautiful to you is different to me, different to Chris, different to everybody else, right?
Just like we like different colors.
We like different. Right? I love that color, by the way, of your products. But I was going to tell you that earlier. So we have to identify like what direction are we going. I've got this saying. It's, without a goal, any direction will do. We can go to the left, we can go to the right. It doesn't matter because we don't know where the hell we're going. But if you showed me 2 or 3 sites that you absolutely loved, I would say, I understand the look and feel that you like. I'll go to Figma. I will extract from your homepage, for example, all of the content that exists there, but I will restyle it in my own style and in the style of design inspiration you gave me, right? And present it to you. That's my general process of refining. Let's call it a rebrand of a homepage, and I'll present it to you quickly, right? One of the things I always say in my marketing efforts is you'll have mockups from me of a new homepage in the first week that you hire me. And I think that that's significant.
Sure, because they're paying you for a service and they're putting the money out and they're waiting to get a return. And the longer they wait,
the less they're going to have a faith in a good result.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe how many times I've heard people say, I paid a web design company. It's been 4 months. It's been 8 months, like crazy numbers.
Sure.
And they don't have a result. I often also hear an equally crazy statement of, even on informational websites that aren't e-commerce, that aren't complex like yours, oh, it's 6 months in order to redesign a project. I'm like, what the hell are you doing for 6 months? Like,
or is
seriously.
it because they're that backlog that they're willing to take the work, but they don't relatively have the ability to get to it?
You know what? It's a good point. I would argue that knowing what it takes from a marketing perspective in my business to generate quality leads and then business, that's a tough one to believe for me, right? I'm not saying nobody's busy. I'm sure plenty of people are busy, but my business is one that it is difficult and costly in order to generate quality traffic to the website that, has real intent, right? But anyway, so coming back to the whole Figma idea, right? I say often that there's nothing like action. We can endlessly talk about something that you like or want to see, but if I don't go to Figma, it's just nothing's going to happen, right? So I much rather get a good feel of what you want, go to Figma, and even if I only get 50% of the way there on my first try, it's good. It's not a bad thing, right? Because the beauty is we can iterate absolutely everything. I have full control of the entire experience inside of Figma. There is nothing that you could tell me that I couldn't affect inside of Figma and therefore affect in WordPress after when it's being developed. So first week, I'm presenting mock-ups to you of a new brand, essentially reestablishing the brand, right?
Sure.
Listening to what you want. Homepage is often the heaviest, right? It's the most difficult from a time perspective.
Is all, like, when you spruce that out, is all the content the same, all the pages the same? So let's say I had, 97 pages on my website. When I redesign, it's just going to 97 pages and look differently with all the same links?
It's a very good point you're making. Now, we have to take into consideration a few things. Number one, is it an informational site or is it e-commerce? Okay. Number two, does the site have significant organic rankings and traffic or doesn't it? Right? Because that will heavily impact the comments that I'm going to make to you, right? Let's take your example. You are an e-commerce website built on WooCommerce, and you have very significant traffic to your website, right?
Yes.
So the worst thing that I could imagine is going and redesigning something, and it'd be the prettiest thing that you've ever seen in the world. But when you go and code it, you make a bunch of problems and you screw up the homepage. You don't, let's say, copy what you've said, the structure, the links, et cetera, all the things that are happening on site. You're opening up yourself for major problems.
Yeah, I probably gotten myself in a worse situation then.
Correct. And what would you prefer? A website that maybe isn't the most visually stunning, newest thing that you've ever seen, or a website that has serious traffic and purchases?
Yeah, I need serious. It's like having a beautiful car that doesn't run.
Correct.
If the website don't work right.
The Ferrari is in the garage and nobody is seeing it, right?
Correct, exactly.
So,
which is doing no one any good.
No one any good. So I am of the opinion that one must be very cautious when undertaking such things.
Yes.
Again, is there significant traffic? Is the website a significant driver of the engine of money for your business, right?
Correct.
The vehicle, as you called it. If the answer to those is yes, you better hold your horses, right?
Correct.
Be extremely cautious in who you're hiring because they're going to be a major problem.
I almost look at it like moving. Like my dad one time had to move his business after 20 something years. I remember how nervous he was, and I didn't really understood it when I was young because he did better when he moved. But I understood the same thing. It's like on the website. It's like everything's working well, doing good. I want to do better, but I certainly don't want to do worse.
Correct. And I would say my advice to anyone that's hearing me say this is first of all, make sure you hire the right people. Second of all, is just take a phased approach to it, right? For example, you would be shocked at what a little bit of restyling of a header and footer would do. You would be shocked at what a homepage header and footer would do, even to other pages that you don't touch, right? How many SKUs do you have on your site approximately?
Oh, there's over 100, I believe.
Over 100. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got hundreds of links on your website when we take into consider variations, et cetera.
Yes. Interlinkings, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. So WooCommerce, let's say I was to redesign just the page, the product page. I'm not redesigning 100 different pages. I am simply redesigning the template in which the product shows up, right? So from your perspective, the thing would look different, but there would be no difference to the content that is on every single page. It's just the styling of it, right? So if I was to give you any advice, I would say, I understand the desire for forward progress, right? Everybody does. We want to get better. We want to iterate. We want to improve. We don't want to stay with the same. And we also don't want to live in a place of fear and constantly worry, right?
Absolutely.
But at the same time, we should be smart about what we're doing and not be lazy about the process. So I would say take a phased approach, do some designing in Figma and get to a point where you're like, wow, it's gorgeous. And then how can we most minimally affect the site? Yes, there are best practices. Yes, there are things one should do, but it should be done in a phased approach. That's my opinion.
Yes.
And cautiously, right? Do the homepage, do the styling of the header, do the styling of the footer.
And making sure it works along the way.
Making sure it works along the way. Do not touch the links. Do not touch all the work that you've done here. And maybe do it let's do it this month, right? Maybe we do the product page template secondly. Maybe we do it in 30 days from now. How is it affecting traffic? What's happening in Search Console? Are there new errors showing up, right? Like,
sure.
I like that approach.
Yes.
And again, that's my comments would be lesser so for an informational site with whatever 20, 30 pages. It's easy. We just make sure that the same page structure exists, make sure we're not significantly changing page content. And again, as the traffic on site is lessened, well, the risk is lessened, right? It doesn't matter. At a certain point, it matters less. So, and in fact, a redesign could significantly improve. One of the benefits, I think, of my ecosystem is, we have the preferred page builder. We have our ways of doing things that we know work really well, and oftentimes it's a significant lift or improvement than the status quo, right? Mm-hmm. So